Hello everyone, Shirley here. Welcome to part 2 of a 2-part series on effectively managing the business development function in small businesses. Today's discussion is about how to structure the various business development roles as a GovCon company grows. This can be a complicated topic. In the beginning, at least one of the owners typically is responsible for developing business. They get overwhelmed and pull in others who might be juggling client work. It's easy to put aside business development when you're busy fulfilling contracts. But of course, that's the last thing you should do. How do you keep all of the business development plates spinning and evolving as you grow? To help me discuss this important issue once again, with 35 years of experience in the federal marketplace, is my guest today, Dr. Charlie Painter, founder of the nonprofit Capital Business Development Association. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you, Shirley. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you again, as always. Please tell our audience a little more about yourself and the Capital Business Development Association, commonly referred to as CBDA.
Shirley, I've been in the Washington, D.C. area since 1985 as a government employee and a contractor. I served 18 years as a staff officer at the Central Intelligence Agency and finished my federal career after several years at the National Reconnaissance Office. After leaving government, I became a federal contractor in 2003, and since that time I've worked in business development supporting large, mid-cap, and small businesses. Over the last 3 years, I've been the Vice President of Business Development and Infinisource Consulting Solutions. We're a rapidly growing 8A, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business in Reston, Virginia. We're a professional services firm supporting DoD and federal civilian agencies. The Capital Business Development Association has been somewhat of a surprise. Back in June of 2018, I had dinner with 4 other business developers that I'd known for many years. I'd partnered with them, I'd competed against them, and I knew them all very, very well. I considered each a close friend, and the purpose of our dinner was to explore business opportunities that we could pursue together and to share business intelligence. We identified several promising opportunities, and the dinner went so well that we decided to meet every month. And as the months went by, we all invited other people, and within a few months, we'd outgrown the restaurant. Our growth continued, and we continued to find a larger venue, and we settled at the Army-Navy Country Club in Arlington, Virginia 2 years ago. And since that time, we've grown to more than 1,500 members, both in D.C. and across the United States. Our members include business development professionals representing all company sizes and socioeconomic categories.
And it's a great organization, Charlie, and highly beneficial to small businesses especially. To begin our discussion, let's discuss the biggest business development mistakes companies make when they enter the federal marketplace.
Shirley, I'd break my answer down into 2 parts. First, a big mistake that I've seen entry-level GovCon small businesses make is believing that they will automatically be awarded work because of their set-aside status. For example, 8As, hub zones, woman-owned small businesses. A hard lesson for these companies is that there are literally thousands of mature and highly capable small businesses within each of these socioeconomic categories that have excellent past performance and deep customer relationships, and they're competing for the same opportunities. Entry-level small businesses with no niche capabilities or past performance find it extremely difficult to compete for opportunities, and these high-performance and experienced small business competitors are angling for the same direct award opportunities as well. Add to that, in an 8A environment, you have to deal with Alaskan Native corporations, tribal companies, and Native Hawaiian firms who are essentially what we call super 8As with world-class capabilities and past performance. Failing to appreciate that you're entering a highly competitive and crowded environment is a major first mistake.
I would agree with that. And Charlie, what is the second mistake?
A second common mistake that I see is committed by commercial companies seeking to enter the government contracting space without being properly prepared. Again, they don't appreciate the highly competitive environment, don't understand the bidding process, and in many cases don't fully understand the proposal process. Commercial companies sometimes don't understand the concept of butts and seats in professional services contracts, and in some cases don't fully understand government budgeting. I will mention that they do have past performance, and the federal government is placing increasing value on commercial past performance, particularly in the IT and cyberspaces. At base, the mistake is not understanding that commercial business does not equate to government contracting. A lot of preparation is necessary to make the jump.
I agree. And keeping with our topic today of the various roles that have to be filled, companies new to government contracting often fail to grasp all of the procurement regulations. There are many things not to do. You can't ask for business like you do in the commercial sector. So there is a unique role internal to government contracting companies to fully understand and implement regulatory compliance in the sales process.
Shirley, you're absolutely right. Contracting with the government is very different from contracting with the private sector. One major difference is that the federal contracts process is much more regulated than contracting in the commercial world. The difference is driven by public policy and U.S. law. Commercial companies are familiar with and operate largely under the Uniform Commercial Code, the UCC as it's commonly called, provides the contractual assumptions applicable to commercial transactions between merchants, and the UCC is largely neutral between parties. Moving into federal contracting, commercial companies have to become familiar with the Federal Acquisition Regulation, or FAR, that details the terms and conditions appropriate between private contractor and the government. And FAR favors the government and the taxpayer. I spoke to a large commercial company just this past week that's planning to expand into the federal market. They understand that there are fundamental differences between commercial business and federal contracting. They're in the process of making strategic hires of experienced business developers, capture managers, and a proposal team that are going to be necessary before pursuing and bidding for federal contracts. They've done their homework and understand the challenges. And they're entering the GovCon market with the right people with the right expertise.
Charlie, I mentioned earlier that for many small businesses, it is one or more of the owners who start performing the business development role, but that's usually not sustainable. What is the first full-time BD position a small business should invest in?
It really depends on the company and if they have a technical or professional niche or current work generating revenue. In most cases, I think the first BD position should be somewhat of a hybrid, a multi-skilled BD capture manager who can write effective proposals. Now, we've talked before about the difference between business development, capture management, and proposals, which are distinct parts of the same process but clearly separate tasks with different emphasis. Early on, small businesses should designate or hire an individual who can conduct effective capture on specific opportunities and directly convert their capture activities into winning proposals. The truth is that such dual-handed individuals who are really good at this are difficult to find, and in many cases, founding CEOs, particularly if they're non-technical, they're the individuals who take on this role.
I've seen this too, Charlie. The CEO is doing business development, capture, and writing proposals. What I recommend to them as a baby step to get the CEO out of this role full-time so they can do true CEO work is to hire a market intelligence analyst / sales support person as their assistant and to outsource proposal development until their revenue can support full-time employees in these roles.
That's good advice. Business intelligence gathering and BD function administration like opportunity and customer research, NDAs, pipeline updates, and completing requirement matrices are all time-intensive functions that a market intelligence analyst can handle. Outsourcing proposals can be expensive for emerging small businesses, but can be highly beneficial. There are a number of excellent proposal companies that I've used in the past that have done exceptional work. There are also some highly talented proposal consultants who work as independent contractors on an opportunity-by-opportunity basis. Be sure to check with companies that you trust for referrals for these resources.
So, Charlie, how do you know it's time to hire full-time business developers?
Realistically, you need the capture manager proposal writer that I mentioned to bring in work that you can bill against for 12 to 18 months until you can develop a realistic pipeline and begin identifying and developing your own work. If you have a relationship with a large company, for example, like a Deloitte, that has contracts with small business subcontracting plans, and they're willing to give you work to help fill those requirements, then you don't have an immediate need for a business developer. You need a capture manager to manage that relationship and grow business on those vehicles. During the first 12 to 18 months, your company's focus should be on identifying additional subcontracting opportunities to build your past performance. It's all about building relationships and doing everything you can to differentiate your small business from all the others pursuing the same strategy. As you win these subcontracts, and you can also leverage your socioeconomic status for direct awards, the key to winning direct awards is to build solid relationships with contracting officers and other acquisition officials. Once you've had success bringing in subcontracts, and maybe you've picked up a direct award or two, you will naturally be drawn toward looking for opportunities to compete for prime contracts. The CEO, who has worked tirelessly as a capture manager, proposal writer, will find as they are successful that they need to attend to other duties and can't exclusively handle business development. Also, in some cases, the founder or CEO realize that they lack the skills that they need to perform the business development necessary to get to the next level. It's at that point that the founder CEO needs to think about bringing in a professional business developer.
And at that point, the CEO needs to be focused on other matters that desperately need their attention. So when do you know that you need a business development manager?
There's not a clear red line. This will vary with each company, but generally it's when the CEO or management team realizes, because of competing business priorities, that they no longer have the time to drive the growth necessary to meet their expectations. Business development and capture management requires developing and maintaining a significant network of contacts for teaming and to attract new clients. It also involves a great deal of research and analysis of new market opportunities. And these responsibilities are extremely time-intensive, and as the small business grows, these need to be passed off to a professional so the CEO can run their business.
And I would add that the business development manager may supervise other business developers, develop forecast, and perform additional managerial duties, which also can be very time-consuming. Charlie, we need to take a break. I'm talking to Dr. Charlie Painter, founder and president of the nonprofit Capital Business Development Association, about how to fill various business development roles as a company grows. When we come back, we'll talk about outsourcing the business development function. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Shirley Colliger, your host for this Growth Masters Federal presentation, is president and founder of Scale to Market. Scale to Market helps businesses think, plan, collaborate, and build market value by developing and executing customized, data-driven business development playbooks, building efficient information systems, and creating high-performing BD teams. Utilizing the proprietary Davy Business Development Growth Framework, Scale to Market partners with business owners and executives to increase their company's value by achieving profitable and sustainable growth in the federal marketplace. Email Shirley at scollier@scaletomarket.com to learn more about the Davy Growth Framework and how it can be instrumental in helping grow your federal contracting business. Back now to Shirley's conversation with Dr. Charlie Painter, founder and president of the Capital Business Development Association and VP of Business Development for Infinisource Consulting Solutions, as they discuss the keys to developing a successful BD team.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing when to hire a business development manager. I want to turn our attention now to whether or not to outsource the business development function. Charlie, what are the pros and cons of outsourcing?
Surely small businesses basically have two choices when hiring their first business developer. First is hiring a part-time business development consultant, and the second is to hire a full-time in-house business development professional. Both of these choices come with different advantages and disadvantages, and frankly, different levels of risk, both for the company and the BD. Many companies elect to make their first BD hire an outsourced business development consultant. These assets are generally brought on as part-time independent contractors, so they often have multiple clients or companies that they're performing BD functions for. The advantages of these consultants for emerging small businesses are they are generally seasoned BD professionals who've been in the business for a while, and as a result, they have an established network of contacts, both contractor and government. They likely have access to search tools and subscription services that a small business doesn't have, primarily because they're expensive. As a result, business development consultants can be very effective in identifying and qualifying long-range opportunities and teaming possibilities for small businesses. Starting with a part-time business development consultant is a relatively low-risk proposition for emerging small businesses. If they don't get the support they desire, they can easily turn these assets on and off.
So what are the disadvantages?
Well, because they're often part-time and supporting a number of clients or companies, they essentially offer somewhat limited part-time support. In my experience, business development consultants lack the time necessary to perform the detailed capture activities necessary to successfully win work, leaving that to clients to pick up on their own. In a few cases, I've seen part-time business development consultants lack the personal and professional investment small business owners would like to see in outcomes. They identify the opportunity and maybe help arrange the team, but they're not around for the capture activities and the proposal.
But many times, this is all small businesses can afford. Lessons learned here are to be realistic about the number of opportunities part-time consultants can work effectively and be clear with your expectations of their involvement in capture and proposal activities, right?
You have to be crystal clear and realize if they are working for other clients or companies at the same time, it will be difficult for them to provide the deep level of capture necessary to really drive up your P1. Small businesses using part-time BD consultants are best served if they can hire one who agrees to work exclusively for them and on a limited number of opportunities. This will allow them to more fully perform capture activities and assist in the proposal process effectively.
And what are the advantages and disadvantages of hiring a full-time business development employee?
The first advantage of an in-house full-time W-2 business development hire is, if they're any good, they're going to be more fully invested in the company, both personally and professionally. They have direct skin in the game. W-2 full-time business developers are usually the last one hired and the first to be fired if the company doesn't meet its growth objectives, and they know this. They're accountable. They can fully immerse themselves in the company's capabilities, the company's strengths and weaknesses over time, allowing them to perform effective detail capture and making them better ambassadors for the company with customers and other companies who are potential teammates. Full-time BDs are around to manage opportunities from cradle to grave, from the first identification of an opportunity to proposal submission to award announcement. They're fully invested in the entire process. The primary disadvantage of a full-time W-2 BD hire revolves around the cost involved and the risk of hiring a BD asset that may not be a good fit for the company and, as a result, may not be as productive as you'd like. Because of this, proper screening and evaluation of full-time BD candidates is essential.
I agree, Charlie. You want to know that they are a cultural fit with your company and that they have the GovCon market knowledge necessary to perform the job. And this is where a lot of CEOs struggle. How do you know if a candidate is knowledgeable and skilled at federal business development if you yourself are not? In response to this demand, my company, Scale to Market, developed pre-employment tests to give BD job candidates to test their knowledge of the FAR, federal procurement practices, and industry best practices. These tests are relatively inexpensive, and they can be found on our website, scaletomarket.com. Let's go back to the business development role of the CEO. How does their role and responsibilities change as a company grows?
In a new small business, the CEO is often, in fact usually is, everything from BD director, HR director, facility security officer, and IT manager. As your company grows, you bring in outsource or direct hire expertise to handle these responsibilities, particularly once you lack adequate time to perform these functions well, given the need to manage a rapidly growing company. Any CEO will tell you that business development, capture management, and effective proposal writing are the most important functions in any GovCon small business. As a result of this, it's extremely difficult for CEOs to step away from the BD function and all of its component parts entirely. And in my experience, this is where many CEOs can run into trouble. The majority of CEOs that I've met consider themselves to be experts in business development, and why shouldn't they? They grew their company from nothing. They have successfully developed the relationships, partnerships, and expertise that's fueled the growth of their company to where it is today. As difficult as it is, fully successful CEOs need to step away from their BD process at the appropriate time and leave it to the professionals that they've hired to do the work and hold them fully accountable for their performance. Where the CEO can be highly effective is in supporting their BD function through growing and developing their networks and making introductions. By stepping away, I'm talking about disengaging from the block and tackling of BD, like the BD pipeline and the gate review process for individual opportunities. Leave this up to your business developer or your business development team. And ultimately, if you aren't comfortable doing this, then you haven't hired the right people. I've heard an old saying that the people who helped you make your first $10 million are not necessarily the same people who will help you make your first $100 million. The most effective CEOs in the GovCon arena that I've seen are mindful of this.
Yes, they are. And if they are smart, they realize that they now have a unique opportunity to represent the company in the marketplace at the highest levels, networking with other CEOs, having high-level discussions with government decision makers, being a thought leader, impacting public policy, and giving back to the community. Charlie, what, in your opinion, is the toughest growth stage?
Surely for small GovCon businesses, there are two stages that I've seen that can be seriously problematic. The first we've just talked about, when the CEO needs to step back from the BD functions to allow a professional or a BD team to handle the mechanics and decision-making in business development. I can't stress enough that this is a pivotal phase in small business growth, and it's very difficult for many CEOs to accomplish this. If it's not done properly, then business developers end up managing their CEOs and not managing business development. This can waste a significant amount of time and resources, and ultimately it can adversely affect the ability of the BD to succeed and the small business to grow. The second is a situation in which a company grows very rapidly without the benefit of proper forward strategic planning. I've seen small businesses that have done a beautiful job bringing in high revenue contracts only to blow through size standards and find themselves having to compete in a higher weight class. One company I worked for was a highly successful woman-owned small business that grew very rapidly in the narrow NAICS code range to above $16.5 million size standard. They quickly found themselves locked out of work they had traditionally bid as a prime and that their past performance would effectively support. Two things happened. First, they had to fall back into subcontractor positions with larger companies, many of whom considered the now up-and-coming small business a threat. Second, they had to directly compete against these heavily resourced larger companies who possessed excellent past performance and capabilities. In this case, the CEO had really painted himself into a corner by his own success, and his company's growth stagnated. Proper strategic planning will prevent this situation.
Charlie, you're now singing my song. There are distinct growth phases businesses go through in the federal marketplace. Graduating from socioeconomic certification programs and sizing out of the small business set-aside program are key pivot points. And planning for each of those should be done at least 3 years in advance. I like to get companies when they're 5 years before graduating or sizing out. And there are many successful strategies for navigating these issues. Charlie, thank you so much for sharing your insights with our audience today.
Shirley, it's been my pleasure.
Folks, if you would like to get in touch with Charlie, he can be reached at charles.painter@icsfederal.com. Or you can reach out to us here at Scale to Market, and we'll make sure you're connected. This is Shirley Collier, President of Scale to Market and host of the Growth Masters Federal podcast, signing off for now. As we close, I want to thank you for joining us today and encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn and visit our website, that's scaletomarket.com with the number 2 in the middle, where you will find our library of podcasts, webcasts, white papers, my blog, and other links and resources. While there, please leave us a comment or suggestion so we can stay focused on what's important to you. We'll see you next time.